Creator.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loud Spot. I'm your host, Sebastian Cosby, right out of Oklahoma City. Today, we are sitting with Ava Gore, joining us on the podcast. What's up, Ava?
Not much.
And then we got Steve from the punk rock band out of Canada, Belvedere. What's going on, dude?
What's going on? Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So a Canadian punk rock band, and I totally screwed up earlier. Thought the band was like later in the 2000s. You're like, no, 1995. So the band's pretty seasoned.
You kind of caught us on our reunion, which started in 2012 or 11 or something. But we'd already been around for about 15 years before that. But that's okay.
Okay. So
I didn't even know there were punk people in Canada.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. There's lots of us.
So you said the band was doing a reunion. Was there like a break from the band and then started back up?
Yeah, we split in 2005, and then we took a 7-year hiatus, which I didn't take much of a hiatus. I started another punk band and put out 3 records and toured to 40 countries, and then got back into it again in 2012, and then never broke up again. So here we are still, 6th album.
Why did the band decide to get back together after 7 years of being apart?
Well, I think after spending close to a decade on the road, we were doing 200 plus shows a year. We all got sick of each other, and then you split up and go to college for a few of us, get families, and then realize that maybe we didn't hate each other as much as we thought we did. And so, yeah, kick it off again. Why not?
Have you guys done since the band started? Have you done a lot of world tours again?
Yeah, actually, since we've been back, we've probably done even not more stuff, but I would say bigger stuff for sure. We've been on tour with most of my heroes growing up, so it's been good. So yeah, it's we put in a lot of effort in the 90s. We toured the States a ton in the 90s, and since we've been back, we've had some good tours with Pennywise and Lagwagon and NoFX, and it's been good. It's been really good.
That's pretty cool to be able to tour with a bunch of bands, and you probably listen to them being in the punk scene altogether. Did you grow up in the punk scene in Canada, or was there much of a punk scene in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I started going to shows in 91, so it was very different than it was in the mid-90s when some of those bands got popular. But yeah, being junior high school, I was going to shows almost every Friday, and every city in Canada sort of had its own, version of a punk scene, so.
Ava wasn't even born yet when he started doing that stuff.
I hear that a lot these days. I get interviewed by a lot of people that weren't born when my band started, so that's okay.
I was around. I was there, except for I was like in junior high probably.
Dude, I haven't been to Oklahoma since like '99, so that gives you an idea of how long we've been doing this for.
Okay, yeah, I didn't live in Oklahoma in '99. I would have hated to see what the punk scene was like in Oklahoma in '99 because the punk scene now in Oklahoma, there probably is a punk scene in Oklahoma. I'm just not in it. I'm from California, so how was it? Do you remember the Oklahoma show?
I don't. We used to play a lot of basement shows in the 90s. So, if we went down there for 6 weeks, I would say we'd probably only play 2 or 3 sort of, I guess, real venues. A lot of the times it would be, we'd book off this magazine called Book Your Own Fucking Life. And it was just like, kid promoters, whoever wanted to put on a show. And a lot of the times it was in people's backyards or basements or like frat houses or whatever. And we used to play California a lot too. And the same kind of thing. Some of them were real venues in Hollywood. And sometimes we'd go out to Isla Vista and in Santa Barbara and play, on someone's front lawn.
That's where I'm from.
Oh yeah?
IB.
Yeah. Only one of us had been arrested there.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I've never been arrested there, thank God. What all? So I would assume you've done some European tours as well.
I've been there. Yeah, I've been there almost 20 times with both bands for sure. Yeah, we started going to Europe in about 2000, 2001, and we still go. We were supposed to be there 3 times this year until shit hit the fan. So we'll reschedule for sure.
Yeah, and then your album just came out on this Friday.
Yeah, a couple days ago. Yeah, 6th album.
And why did you? Because I talked to a lot of bands since I started the podcast. A lot of them are dropping singles instead of albums. Why did you guys decide to go ahead and just drop a full-length album?
Yeah, I mean, basically because, like I said, we had about 100 shows booked, and so there was nothing else to do but then write a full-length record. And, the band, we have labels that can put this stuff out, and we felt it was a good time to sort of drop this now in hopes that, maybe in the fall and early winter next year, we can go tour. It's been 5 years since our last record, so we were about due.
Yeah. After 5 years, fans start wondering, are you guys coming back out with another record?
What made you want to start playing music in the first place?
I started playing guitar in the late 80s, just watching just buddies in school and stuff. And that's what got me into music. But going to shows was actually what kind of made me think I could play in a band. Just at that time, it was sort of, just alternative music. It wasn't punk rock or whatever. I mean, there was definitely punk bands, but it was just kind of, you would just go to the university and see a show every Friday. And I started seeing people that, I started, watching them play and go, I could play stuff like that. Or, I'd go and hang out with my friends and be like, we should go, play some riffs and see what happens. And that's really how I got into it. But the scene was a big one for me. It was a scene I wanted to be a part of. And I liked the camaraderie between everyone. It felt like everybody was on the same page, and, a lot of us were misfits back then. So it was nice to have some people to hang with.
Was there any other genre that you played, maybe not in a band, is there any other genre that you listened to or like to play besides just punk music?
I mean, I grew up playing metal, but I really grew up playing piano. I played classical music for 8 years. So that's where my music career kind of started. I should say that's where my music started. There was no career playing piano in my basement. but yeah, I mean, metal in my junior high days and stuff, very quickly led into the Pennywise and Bad Religion, Dead Kennedys and bands like that. And it was an easier transition because I felt like I could play that stuff where some of the hair metal from the 80s was a little tough to copy when you're 13. Not now. Everybody's got YouTube videos to play after, right? But, we had to figure that out.
Right. Nowadays, some people don't even really play guitar anymore. But I feel like for me, because I started listening to hip hop first. Then that went from that to like Sublime type stuff, and then to metal. And then I transitioned into punk rock. And only listened to punk rock for quite a long time. And now I kind of go back and forth between metal and punk. But I feel like a lot of people that do punk rock kind of come from metal and then go to punk. Maybe I'm a musician, and you know what? It's true, because as a drummer, it's easier for me to play punk drums than it would be to do double bass kick and metal drums. It's a lot more difficult.
And that's a good point. And for us touring, especially in Europe, where we're playing festivals all the time, so often it's hardcore punk and metal kind of put together on these festivals. And so a lot of metal guys kind of came from punk too. And so there's a lot of back and forth there. People choose their direction, I guess. But there's definitely a lot of crossover. And if you listen to our stuff, I mean, it's not just sort of 4/4 straight up punk. Some of it's fairly technical, and depending on whose standards you're judging it by. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like kind of sitting in the middle.
Well,
do you have a favorite or least favorite show that you perform? Like, is there one that just sticks out?
We've done close to 2,000 shows, and it's hard to sometimes remember them all. I book a lot of them, so I actually do remember them better than the other guys. My favorite show, I have a lot of favorite shows. We had, I think our first show in Montreal was with Bad Religion and Strung Out, and this was in 99. And I remember that it was like 5,000 people. There was a huge show. And this is, at that point, we were kind of a band playing basement shows up to that point. So doing that tour was big. The first time I played Tokyo was amazing, just because I never thought my band would play there. I always knew that we would tour the States. That was always something that we got at right away. But playing Tokyo was like, I never thought we'd get there. And I remember in the early 2000s, we did a tour in South America, and we played Venezuela and Colombia and Chile and Brazil. Well, actually Brazil was later, but playing Caracas was like, nobody played Caracas. Like, nobody got to Venezuela. There was like 2 bands, that had played there earlier that year, like punk bands from North America. And so I felt like those were kind of really memorable dates, because we kind of trailblazed a little bit for some of the genre, which was cool.
Was there a language barrier? So, because you go to these countries, like let's say you're in Tokyo, right? Yeah. Would you say Tokyo had a harder language barrier between who was there, like when you get to the show, compared to maybe some European countries? Like, was it hard to communicate?
You know, like I was actually, because you have this sort of ignorance if you're from North America and you go to places for the first time and you assume that like because so much technology comes from Japan that maybe there's a lot of English there, but there actually isn't a lot of English, at least not for the older people. A lot of kids did, but you know, they knew the band, and they did their best to try to speak English, and we tried to learn a little bit of Japanese. But going into South America, every time I go to South America, I learn a little bit more and more Spanish. A little bit of Portuguese, but mostly Spanish. And like my kid's in Spanish immersion now, so we make a real like concerted effort to learn as much Spanish as possible. And people love it when you speak their language. It's the same thing when I go to Italy. I always have a few lines in Italy I try to speak because I'm in their country and I respect it. So, but you know, Tokyo, it's a trip because it's so much different. You know, you try to look. You know, there's not a lot you can read. It's like when I went to Russia the first time. It was like, you know. There's not a ton of English here, and that's Cyrillic, so I can't make it out, you know. And it's not like when you go to France or Spain, you can kind of like, okay, I can kind of figure out what's going on. Like Cyrillic's just like, whoa, like, so it is a challenge.
Different
but
letters.
That's fun. Yeah, but that's fun.
Yeah, I get. You know, that would be kind of fun. And it's funny you're talking about the Spanish. Like I grew up around my dad's first language is Spanish, and my mom's deaf. Right, my mom's deaf. Okay. I don't know Spanish or sign language. At all.
Yeah, I personally love it. There was a time where I could count to 10 in 10 different languages, but I've now forgotten some of it now. And it, you know, there's so much downtime when you're touring. You know, the promoter brings you around, you get to a venue, and you're kind of sitting there. It's like, I'm going to learn a little bit of where I am. You know, and I still try to do that if I can.
Yeah. So when you guys were touring, I would assume the band was signed to a label. That set up the tours. And are you guys still signed to a label now, or are you doing stuff kind of on your own? And what's that word? What's it called? We're just doing it on your own?
DIY?
DIY,
yeah. So we've had quite a few labels in, like we've got, you know, labels in Japan and Canada and the States and Europe and stuff. And, but you know, the booking part is generally separate. I run a booking agency, so I book a lot. I book 20 bands actually in overseas, and so that's one thing I've had about 20 years experience in. So I started, you know, booking other bands. So we have had agents throughout our years, but I've sort of taken the reins on that now. But we're on Thousand Islands Records for Canada and the US, and then Lockjaw Records for the UK and EU, and then they all have different distributors in each area. Okay,
so when we play this song, Facebook they will still be on here recording, but Facebook might shut us down because they don't like when I play music that are on labels. But let's find out what they do. I'll know if they do or they don't. Well, let's go ahead and play it. This song's called "Good Grief Retreat," right?
Right on. You got it.
Okay. All right. Now this song is, for anyone that's watching, this song was pulled off of YouTube, so the sound quality is not as good as an actual MP4. But it's not bad, and it's a lyric video, and the song is pretty cool, so let's check it out right now. It's fast, it's punk, and it's Canadian. Let's go. Oh, I got to push play over here. Here we go.